Peace and love, family.
Hey, happy Sunday, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversation. Not popular,
but important.
There it is. We appreciate y'all being in the building. We appreciate y'all joining us. Again, happy Sunday. I am King George, a.k.a. Mr. Knowledge is Power.
Yes.
And this is my queen.
Yes.
My beautiful.
Yes.
One and only.
Yes. Natalie, Nicole.
Okay.
Happy Sunday, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this evening.
Right.
We are a little bit late today because I
are.
just got back from Florida, like fresh off the streets. But I'm excited to be here and I'm excited about our topic tonight.
Yes, indeed. So sit back, relax.
Don't relax. We want you to join the discussion now.
Of course.
We want you to join the discussion.
Of course.
Yes.
But yeah, welcome everybody.
How was
mental
your day?
health.
Oh, wait. How was your day today?
My day was
You're
great.
ready to get in.
I am.
Okay.
But yeah, my day was great.
Wonderful.
I just relaxed and took it easy today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very nice.
What about you?
Very nice. Well, you know, I hit the gym this morning. And then from the gym, I hit Florida.
Right.
Yeah, I try to visit once a month and have service with my mom.
Right.
And so I very much enjoyed seeing her today and attending Sunday school as well as service. And there was a Black History service today as well. So I want to say thank you, Mom.
Shout out to Mom.
Yes, my favorite situations, goobers,
Right.
since a kid. And so thanks. I don't think they sell them here in Georgia, so it's always nice when I go home that my mom has me a little stash put to the side.
They're hard to find.
Yeah.
Around here for whatever reason lately.
Yeah. Right. And so came back and we're ready to rock and roll with today.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
All right. So you have a quote for us today, or how do you want to do next?
Our quote today is going to be from Nelson Mandela.
Ooh, okay.
And the quote says, "For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others."
Wow.
Nelson Mandela, activist, freedom fighter. Yeah,
Very
great man, pioneer. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to thank our sponsors.
Right.
RMA.
Yes, Role Model Academy, all things modeling and personal development. If you are at any age, like above 5, boys and girls, they are currently having a model search. And if you think you have what it takes, go ahead and check out their social media pages and sign up to audition.
Right.
They will also be at Shaw High School this week, vendor table 2. So again, you have an opportunity to show up and audition for an opportunity to win a free or full paid scholarship as well as a photo shoot. So make sure you sign up, provide your information, and audition.
Okay.
Role Model Academy.
All right. And we want to thank our other sponsors, Tri-City Fatherhood Group.
Yes.
And we deal with all things child support, all things concerning fathers and their rights as it pertains to child support, what you're entitled to, what your rights are. We offer coaching, consulting, and just all around how to navigate the child support system. So if you're having issues with child support, if you know anybody that's having issues with child support and you need information, you need coaching, reach out to TriCityFatherhoodGroup.com and yeah, let us know.
So far, I've heard favorable reviews. Like people are just excited that there's some hope,
Right.
a light at the end of the tunnel,
Right.
as it regards their rights. So check them out.
Please do. It's very much needed. This information you cannot get from a lawyer. Let me say it one more time.
They're going to charge you and then they're going to tell you they can't help you.
Well, they can help you, but they can't do what I can do or what the Tri-City Fatherhood Group can do. So an attorney, can try to negotiate a certain amount for you, but not going to tell you your rights.
Right.
So I'll just leave it there. If you need more information, reach out to us. And we definitely got you. And also shout out to Candid Productions for sponsoring this platform.
Yes.
All things Candid Conversation. We got merch coming. So we got a lot of things coming with Candid Production and Candid Conversation.
Yeah,
so.
exciting.
Yeah,
exciting.
Okay.
All right.
You ready to jump into it?
I think I am.
Let's get into it. So we're going to talk about mental health today.
Yes.
And I think this is a much needed conversation.
As it regards African American people.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And just, knowledge of mental health, how to recognize it, different types of mental health or mental illness.
So I think before we get started with the facts, let's kind of discuss how this affects us personally. You mind if I go first?
Not at all.
Okay, wonderful. So I grew up with my mom being a behavioral specialist, program director, things of that nature. So I've always been around in some way, shape, or form people with mental health or disabilities in that way. And so you have to have a heart for them to serve them properly. They deserve to have the best care possible.
Right, most definitely.
And so I'm sensitive to that in that way. And then I think at school, when I was in school, they were not in the classrooms. It wasn't until like 2004, 2008 that they had this inclusive situation, and then they started merging the students in classrooms with everyone else.
So you're saying like special needs or mental health?
Everything,
or?
if anything.
Yeah.
They, the terms they used to use before was retarded, mild retarded. They don't use those terms anymore. But if a student was labeled that or diagnosed as that, then they were not in classrooms. They were in a separate class for me growing up.
Okay, so they would group, just for clarity, so they would group what I thought was special needs. They would consider that mental illness?
Well, I think so. It's a form of it.
Okay.
It's a form of it. And so they had separate classrooms. And I remember being a peer counselor and, interacting and bringing them out of the classroom and having them walk around with me throughout school. This is in high school. But, how it is today and in the classrooms where you have students who are labeled with some form of mental health, which is ADHD, anxiety, manic depressive, anything like that.
Yeah.
They were not in class, and now they're in class, but they have a special teacher that has certification, so they co-teach as opposed to just those students being restricted to one class.
So do those students have IEPs? Okay. And could you tell people with IEP? Do you remember what IEP?
Individualized educational plans.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Documentation. They have a caseworker. They have to review their plans and their progress and see how they're doing. And then based on whatever their diagnosis is and whatever they need, we have to be sure to provide those accommodations.
Okay. Wow.
So in the education world, I've been, aligned with people or students who have mental health. And then just growing up. And then I will say, in family, I feel like oftentimes we go undiagnosed.
I agree.
So there's there's been situations that I can remember or, conversations that you remember as a kid about certain people. And it's likely they just weren't diagnosed or they had not seen a therapist. And so I think that's all I have to say is how it regards to me personally.
Okay.
Now I didn't grow up with a stigma about getting therapy.
Okay.
I don't ever recall having a stigma about it. I've not ever had a problem sitting with a counselor and getting therapy. So
you didn't feel no negativity towards, okay.
Not ever. I can't recall that I have ever felt I don't want to go in there, and talk to anybody or whatever. I've never felt that way.
Okay, but would you say, as far as a culture and a community, though, there's a stigma?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I would definitely say how I feel is the minority in our culture.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say the majority of people, when you recommend therapy, ain't nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
Very defensive and just very, taken aback that you would even recommend it. But
right.
It's necessary and it's needed. And so it's just like anything else. If you need a toothache or you have a toothache and you need a dentist, you go see the dentist. If you need surgery, you go see the surgical person. So that part to me is just across the board the same.
Yeah, I agree. But, definitely, like we talked about, as far as in the culture or, our community, it's a stigma attached to it. And, a lot of mental health is not even discussed in a lot of households.
Right.
Like growing up, I don't remember ever having a discussion about mental health or any of that. But, little things would happen outside in the community where somebody would be, you just label that person crazy.
Yes.
And get them away from us. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you might get laughed at. You know what I mean? This person is crazy.
Yes.
But nobody's talking about getting them some help or, you know what I mean? So that part about it.
Okay, so you're saying that mental health therapy, none of that was conversation or a part of your growing up time?
Yeah, I don't remember there being any conversations about. Now there was a stigma, like I said,
right.
but there was, there was no conversation about, especially between me and my friends and people at school and stuff like that. I never heard anybody talk about, we're going to get counseling, or I think something wrong with her. She need to be, to be seen.
I do remember in junior high, there was a young lady, and she would be happy one moment, and then she would be super sad the next, and crying and everything. Beautiful Caucasian, young lady. And I remember trying to encourage her from a spiritual standpoint. And she told me straight and flat out, I have a chemical imbalance. I take medication for this.
Wow.
And so that was enlightening for me, because I think also in our culture, Jesus can fix it.
Fix it all.
He will fix it all.
No matter what is going on.
Let Jesus fix it, right?
Fix it. You just sit there and he'll fix it.
Let the pastor fix it, But there are people who have went to school, who have studied, and who are available to help us. And so I think that was very eye-opening to me, that I couldn't just put religion on her. I couldn't put Jesus on her and expect for it to be fixed. She told me straight out, I have a chemical imbalance. And I have to take medication for this.
Listen, let me say this. So we know that the video we saw of the lady who was pouring her heart out to the church. And at the end, the lady was like, pray for her. That's how it goes now, right there. That's how it goes now.
Yes.
Pray for her.
Pray for her.
Yeah, go ahead, pray for her. But, give her a list of numbers she can call. So she can get some help.
Some resources, right?
Right.
Some resources so she can get the assistance that she needs.
Right.
Correct.
Put that oil on her forehead ain't gonna fix it. You know what I mean? She needs, give her that, but also give her this too.
We have to be practical. We are on this earth in this world.
Right.
And so when you said that, give her the prayer and the oil, but give her this too. I think about the story, and I think you were the one who told me about it, about the flood. And this one is like, I'm waiting for Jesus to send this.
Right.
And God was like, I sent you a helicopter.
Right.
I sent you a boat. I sent you this. And you disregarded it. The practical things.
Right.
Yeah, the practical things that are here on this earth, you disregarded. And that's like us disregarding the mental health people, therapists that are here to help us.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they go to school and they study the brain and they study the body so that they can help us. So why not? Why not use,
Right.
Okay, so any other, any specific examples of, that you can remember in church or in school, or how was your school experience? Were they separated? Were they in the same class with you?
Well, as a kid or being in school, I don't remember. I didn't associate mental illness to special needs. Like, I feel like if you were special needs, you were you had to have somebody helping you around the clock. Like either you were in a wheelchair, or maybe your arms were, deformed, or your hands, or you couldn't speak. So that's why I associate it to special needs. So as far as mental health went, until there was an episode and somebody was losing it, I didn't know, I could point to that. Oh, she's crazy. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, as a kid, he's crazy, or she's crazy.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it.
There's a difference between physical disabilities and mental health.
Okay.
Oftentimes they commingle though.
Okay.
Oftentimes, but not all the time.
And I remember my mom used to babysit a kid when we were kids, and he was special needs. So I don't think he could talk a little bit. But to me, like I said, that's different than mental illness to me. So that's what I associated. Like, okay, if they're special needs, they're over there, and then I associated with certain behaviors with them. But if they were quote unquote crazy, that was something totally different to me as a kid. So
and so like when I say they kind of commingle, I'll give you an example. And when I was in San Antonio doing a residency for mental health. There was a young man, and he was normal, like you and I. Car accident.
Well, are we normal?
Honey, so so thank you for that correction, because I don't want to be offensive, but you understand what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. So, able to use his facilities, limbs, all of that great stuff. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Had a car accident, and then he not only was considered disabled, but also mental health issues, brain damage caused brain damage, which, contributed to him having a mental health disorder. So you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So sometimes if they're born and, they may come out with different things, different ways, but physically, they also have the mental health part as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, we got some of our family in the building. You want to shout them out? I can't see y'all, so.
Okay, so we got Lucretia. Hey, Lucretia.
Hey.
We got Miss Betty Spates. Hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
We got Miss Ash. Hey, Miss Lakeitha.
Welcome, y'all. Come on in.
We got Mr. Ash.
Get in here.
All right, and let me see. Miss Lakeitha said that mental health was viewed as the devil growing up.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, you are possessed.
Yes. Lay hands on him or her. Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So that's our personal experiences, as far as we know and understand.
Right. But let me ask you this, and y'all please continue to chime in on experiences y'all have had, what y'all think about mental illness. So when your classmate told you that she had a chemical imbalance, how did you process that?
Well, I just knew that what I thought, my narrow thinking that Jesus could fix it and Jesus was this, like that was disrupted, right? It was disrupted because if she had not, in fact, gone to the hospital, being diagnosed, and then sought the care or took the medication that she needed to take, then, like we see today, people who are out here in the world either in prison or on the side of the streets, homeless because they're not getting the care that they need, she would end up like that eventually. You understand? So that it disrupted my just this narrow situation that, Jesus is the key for everything. But with that, it's like when Christian people say Jesus is the key, he also gives you common sense. Like you just can't expect for things to there's laws like gravity. If you go on top of the building and you say, well, I'm going to jump off of this building, but Jesus going to catch me. He's not.
Right.
Because the law of gravity says if you jump off the building, you're going to hit the ground.
Right.
And so I feel like practically that's how we should associate everything as it regards our health and mental health. We can't just be like, oh, pray and Jesus got it.
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah, it's a deep conversation. And, we see, different instances where somebody's having an episode and the police are just called and this person is manhandled, sometimes even killed, thrown in prison or, you know what I mean? So there needs to be something in place, a program, But, you know, like we talk about all the time, people are walking around undiagnosed.
Yes.
And if you come across somebody that might be mentally ill, your first thought might not be, oh, that person is mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your first thought, if you're being attacked, is to protect yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
By any means.
And listen, that you say that, when I lived in California, a lot of walking because, you know, everything was just walkable. And the population of people who are undiagnosed or diagnosed, not taking medication, but exhibiting psychosis or what have you, was large. And so you're walking down the sidewalk and they're coming this way and they're yelling and they're screaming and the theatrics and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the first thing I think about, okay, is where am I going to take them out at? my place used to be the knees. Like, I'm just going to take them out at the knees. And I'm just being honest. And so it is a serious, it's a serious thing.
Serious.
And like you said, the first thing you do think about is how you're going to protect yourself. But who's protecting them?
Exactly.
Who's protecting them?
So let me give a little bit about my encounter. One encounter I had in my story. So I had been having, I guess, words with a guy in my apartment complex. And I kind of brushed it off. You know what I mean? I kind of took the higher road.
Yes,
I kind of brushed it off. But then he wouldn't go away. So at this point, you know what I mean, I got to do something because this guy is not going away. So he would come knock on my door and start asking for other people. Now, this guy sees me. He knows I'm the only one living there. You know, he comes banging on my door. Is John here? Oh. You know what I mean? Nah, John ain't here, you know. Then maybe 2 days later, this time he's banging on the door, talking about what he's going to do to me if he had to come back up there. And I'm just like, okay, this guy needs some help. You know what I mean? And it just kept escalating from there. Long story short, the guy ended up, you know, he didn't try to put hands on me. He didn't try to hurt me, but he just kept coming back. And he kept violating my space and threatening me. So at that point, what do you do?
Right. And who is responsible for this young man? And
he was a grown man. He wasn't a kid. He had to be at least, I would say he was at least 30 years old. So he was bigger than me. I'm a tall guy. So he was bigger physically, taller than me.
Wow.
So I'm like, well, I got to do something.
Right.
You know what I mean? He lived with his grandmother. His grandmother she was elderly. So she couldn't do anything with him. So the point of all of this is, like, what do you do? And then, like you said, who's going to help him?
Right.
You know, this guy needs help. Now, I could tell the difference when he was on his meds. Now, I never seen him take medicine, but I could tell the difference in some days when he was just like off the wall, and then some days where he was like somber or he was, you know, mellowed out.
So with you saying that, it's likely that he should have had a social worker or a case manager. When I lived in Long Beach, the little apartment was small and it was thin, so you could hear through the walls. And there was a guy, either he was schizophrenic or he was something, and he would just go to town and have these episodes. But he had a caseworker, and then whenever whatever would go wrong, the ambulance, you know, they would come out and do their little protocols for him. So that part, if the lady is elderly, there's no way, if he's bigger than you and taller than you, that she is the person responsible.
She couldn't do anything with him.
Right. So where's the caseworker? Like, what procedures in America do we have in place to support those with mental health? Like, I think they try to do a good job in school, but once they're out of school, it's just they're left to the wilderness. And then they end up in prison or they end up dead.
Right. So just think about how many men or women who are in prison but need to be in a mental institution, you know, getting some care.
Right,
you know
and not prison. Right.
Definitely not prison.
Right.
Definitely not prison, but they don't get that, you know, and the police can clearly see, the judges can clearly see this person is, and what do they call it? They plead insanity?
Yeah.
This person needs to plead insanity.
Right. And they do not care.
They don't. They just throw them in prison, throw them away, lock, what do they say?
throw away the key.
Throw away the key.
Yes. And so when a police person arrives on the scene and they realize that a person is not competent, meaning there's something not correct there should be a different procedure that they take as opposed to sending them to jail. So there's state hospitals all over the place.
There is.
Do we have one here in
We
Georgia?
do. West Central is in Columbus. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, West Central is here in Columbus.
Okay. Is it big or what?
I've never actually seen the facility. I just know where it is.
Okay.
So it's off of Chautauqua Road. But yeah, so there's a facility.
So yeah, and that's where I think they should go. Because what I experienced as well is that when they would get out and then they didn't take their medication, and then so they have to come back, get regulated,
right,
and then they could go back to their normal living standard. But there needs to be a process where they can come back and get realigned with their medication so that they can be okay.
And that's another thing. You can't force them to continue to take their medicine. Like the guy I was talking about in my apartment complex, I saw it was a huge difference when he was taking something and he wasn't. And I remember when I worked in a juvenile correctional facility, there was kids who were jumping off the walls, literally running in circles, just got all of this energy when they weren't on their meds. You know what I mean? Talk to you any kind of way, threaten you, they were aggressive. And then when you give them their meds, they're totally different.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and a lot of those kids, they get released. They go to jail. They get released, and their parents don't allow them to come back home. So now they're on the street.
Right.
So that's another thing. These people end up in poverty because they're mentally ill. So they can't keep a job. They have no place to live. You know what I mean? So it's a crazy cycle.
Right. And when the experience with students, right? So a lot of them have been placed in special needs classrooms. They call it PES today.
Okay.
But they've been placed in those classrooms. And it's not necessarily that they have a mental disorder. It's the root trauma, trauma that they don't know how to process as a young person that turns into anger.
Right.
And then they're labeled throughout the school system as being, like a mental health issue, when in fact, that's not necessarily the case. So I think we talked about this earlier. Just like, I remember going through school and people had to line up to get lice checked.
Yeah.
Had to line up to get the back checked for scoliosis.
Right.
Like they have all these screenings. Possibly that should be something that's added to, in this day and age, to the school system to better help the students, not put them in a classroom or put them in as a label, but provide an opportunity for them to actually get the counseling they need to process whatever trauma they have experienced that leads to anger and, the different outbursts that happen.
I agree. And I'm not sure if y'all know, I'm not sure if police officers are trained to handle mental health cases because, like I said, when I was in corrections, I don't remember us being trained to deal. Now, they have a mental health people working there, but I don't think they trained us to deal with mental health. And a lot of those kids had those issues. And like you said, a lot of mental issues come from childhood trauma or trauma in general.
Right.
PTSD, I didn't even know that was a form of mental illness.
Yeah.
But it is. And most often we relate that to military people.
Right.
But
it can happen to anybody.
Right. If you grew up in the hood and you seen all of these things that you shouldn't see as a kid, those things severely affect you. You know what I mean? So.
Right. And especially being a little one, like they don't know how to process, everything that they encounter. Right. And so it comes out, in all these different manners. And then instead of it being, diagnosed properly, then we get babies just being tucked away.
Yeah.
And labeled.
Yeah. So before we go any further, can you, check in with our family and see what the input is?
Okay. All right. So let's see. Ooh, my mom said the Baker Act. We do have the Baker Act. Let's see. So Baker Act, if I understand properly, is like if they're out and about and they haven't taken their medication and they need to get back on it. So that's where a family member or someone, I believe, in the community can call and then
get them.
Yes.
Okay.
And it is not, they don't have a choice. Like they have to go and they have to get the assistance that they need.
Okay.
Do they have that here in Georgia? Miss Lakeitha said they have the Bradley Center.
Right.
Okay. Lucretia said, unfortunately, a lot of them fall through the cracks. Who falls through the cracks, Lucretia?
Right. I believe she's talking about mentally ill people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how they end up homeless and unemployed and thrown in prison and, abused and all of those things.
Okay. She said, Miss Lakeitha said that Florida has the Baker Act, but Columbus does not.
Wow.
They do not. So, and then like you shared with me today, like we were driving, we were getting off on Airport Thruway. We seen a young man and he was having an episode on the side of the road.
Right.
He was fussing, yelling, what have you.
Right.
Then we look on the news today in that same area and there's a fire.
There's a fire. So if y'all saw the news yesterday, they said it was a fire. We were at that same spot. The guy was at that same spot. Now we're not saying he did it.
Right.
But it's like a coincidence. Like the fire didn't start from nowhere.
Yeah. And so it's possible he was cold, and he started the fire, or who knows.
Right.
But that was the second young man that we had seen. We seen another one at the light, and it's freezing cold outside.
Right.
And so, what as a city, do we care about these people? Because it's kind of tough to just be passing by these people and not lending them a hand. And it's not safe to just like take them in your car and take them somewhere.
Yeah.
But we do have trained, certified individuals who could operate in that manner, as opposed to just allowing these people to be on the side of the street.
Right. So I think we need to figure that part out because, like Krisha said, these people are falling through the cracks.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And they're not being seen about, and they are put like in another world. You know what I mean? And another thing I want to bring up as we see people like standing on the corner asking for money, they could very well be mentally ill.
Yes.
Now, I personally don't like to give out money to people who on the street begging for money, for my own personal reasons, because I don't believe everybody's being honest.
Right.
But that's me.
You're right.
But plus I work hard for mine. So it's easy. It's not easy for me to just give it away. You know what I mean? But anyway, so like I said, that person could very well be one of those people who slipped through the cracks. They have nowhere to go. They're homeless. They can't get a job, or if they get a job, they can't keep it because they don't have medicine to stay. So they get grouped in with other people who could be trying to scam you and beg for money.
Right.
So
my mom said most places have places for homeless people. So what resources do you know that we have here in Columbus, Georgia?
I don't, other than the Bradley Center, like Lakeitha named, and West Central. But like I said, if you know where Chautauqua Road is, how you get over there. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can just check yourself in. Can you just walk up?
Right.
Now, I believe that if you go to, I'm not even sure you can go to the hospital, they'll help you, but.
Oh, not the hospital we've been to.
Yeah, we've seen, but.
Ooh.
Yeah, but there needs to be a program, there needs to be something in place that's readily available for people to go get some help.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It needs to be a discussion and some actions put into place to support the mental health community here. Right.
And like we talked about earlier, and I feel like in our culture, in our community, there's a stigma attached to, oh, you crazy. Because if you seen people have a literal meltdown, we're talking about celebrities.
Right.
They're having a meltdown on camera.
Right.
You know what I mean? Oh, he crazy. They might get laughed at. You know what I mean? That person, she crazy. And then they might lose their career. But they need some help.
Right. So if we take it back a little bit for our culture here in the United States, therapy has not always been positive because it was not presented to us in a positive way.
Right.
So it says that despite the passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1964, some states continue to provide discriminatory mental health services in which African Americans were more likely to be labeled as aggressive and less likely to engage in talk therapy. So we were treated differently when we went to see the mental health professionals. Okay. And I know in Tuskegee, what happened in Tuskegee?
They were doing experiments. And so again, I feel like our culture has the most trauma, but get the least help, or don't get the most help.
Right.
When it comes to mental health. And a lot of our trauma stems from what happened in slavery. A lot of our trauma stems from what happened during the civil rights movement. And it's still happening as far as racism. And a lot of our people, not the majority, but a lot of our people are in these poverty-stricken neighborhoods where everybody's trying to do whatever they can to survive. So you're going to see kids are going to see things that they shouldn't have to see.
Right.
So like you said, so they grow up with this trauma and they never get help. And then they can't really have a healthy relationship.
They don't know how to process it.
Right. So, yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, and so the root of, let's say, because the root of the stigma and the issues stems from being in this country. Right. The racism, the segregation. Right. The unequal treatment, medical-wise. And then that led, according to research, to African American people being skeptical, not wanting to see anybody or not trusting. Because how many African American people do we say we have in the mental health field that we could feel comfortable to go see? The numbers are really low, especially for men. So I'm trying to say, so there may be 14% out of 100 female people who operate in this area. Yeah. And 4% of that, or 1% of that, are males. So oftentimes men want to talk to men. Where are they going to get their help from?
You saying the men? Well, yeah.
When you want to go to therapy, a lot of times a man is not going to go and sit on the couch and, and talk it out with a woman. Or, I'm not sure. What do you think?
I believe that, most men are not willing to show weakness. And I feel like that's a form of, if you tell somebody, hey, I feel like I'm crazy or mentally ill, you may say mentally ill, but what you're thinking about is being called crazy. Right. You know what I mean? So, you're not gonna go get help. And a lot of men don't think they need help. Right. That part. What I mean? So
that part.
How can you tell somebody to get help and they feel like, oh, I'm fine. You know what I mean?
Correct. That is so true. Yeah, and now I feel like today, more of the mega churches are doing more to incorporate counseling, having therapists on their staff or payroll or whatnot, because they are coming to terms with the fact that you just can't say fix it, Jesus. You just can't pray it away sometimes. Right. And you just can't avoid or ignore, some things. There are people in place who have went through training, went through school, that are able to help with this. And I applaud that. Yeah. I applaud that because I feel like it is very necessary. And churches that are outdated, who are still saying, Jesus fixed it, or we're going to put some oil on you.
Yeah. And I want to bring this up. And y'all please chime in if y'all have seen the movie Monster. I know this.
Help today.
If y'all have not seen the movie Monster,
it's horrible. Don't watch it now.
No, watch it because listen, I'm telling y'all to watch it because that is a prime example of how people slip through the cracks. Now this woman was sentenced to death. Yeah. And they sent her to the chair. Yeah. But look at all the trauma she went through. You know what I mean?
And they don't care.
To the point where right. She went through all of this trauma and then she literally lost it after that and she started killing. You know what I mean? So, like I said, they gave her a chair.
Yeah, and the trauma was that was she taken advantage of?
She was raped. Yes. She was raped. I think even before that, she just had a bad unfortunate childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she may have been molested.
Right.
So all of these men were damaging her,
Mm-hmm.
and again, she lost her mind.
She lost it.
She couldn't take it anymore, and,
Right.
and these men became, every man that she came across became that man
Mm-hmm.
who raped her.
Yes, and then she just...
So she never got help, you know. Nobody cared about her trauma or her pain.
Mm-hmm.
They sentenced her to death.
Yes.
And she died that way.
Right.
They never gave her help. She was in a regular prison, not in a mental institution.
Mm-hmm.
She was in a regular prison. But it's a sad story. But just think about the countless stories that are just like that.
Right. And then on the other side of that is that this was a movie. She was acting. But
it was a true story.
Yeah. The lady, I'm saying the lady that played her role.
Right, Charlize Theron.
It affected her so bad.
It did.
That
a sad situation. It's a serious situation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so we just want to bring more awareness to it. And like I said, in our community, it's a stigma attached to it, and people don't want to go get help, or they don't want to let somebody know that they think they might be mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
So they just walk around in silence
mm-hmm.
until they either have an episode or they just never get help.
But I want to clarify that you do not even need to have a mental illness or issue to see a therapist.
I agree.
It is very healthy to see a therapist, to talk out your thoughts, process your thoughts, learn coping skills, because a lot of us, we
Mm-hmm.
did not grow up like learning how to cope with things. It was be quiet. You can't communicate. You don't talk.
Yeah.
It was, I said what I said and going about your business.
Right.
And so you didn't learn how to communicate as a result of that. So what happens? You bottle up
Right.
emotions, and
Right.
then either you have anger issues as an adult, or you suppress it and you're depressed.
Right.
And so all of those things need to be worked out. They need to be worked out in a safe environment. Random people cannot do that for you.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So when you said your classmate, that spoke volumes to me, because look how young she was. But
yeah.
her parents were obviously having that conversation with her.
Yeah.
And getting her some help, right?
And paying attention.
Right.
Right. We tend to ignore, and you get a beat down.
Exactly. Right. You don't get in there.
The switch is going to handle everything.
Yeah.
The switch is going to take care of it.
Yeah.
And, you could be depressed. You could be depressed or going through something. Really.
You don't get to go through it, though.
How many African-American families could say that their child had a chemical imbalance?
A lot.
But no.
Yeah. They can say it. Listen, I honestly believe a lot of parents know, look, my child ain't right. Something is off with him or her. But they don't get them no help, though.
They'll whip it out of them.
They'll beat it out of them. I heard a pastor say that. I heard a pastor say that. I beat the devil out of him. You know what I mean? I'm like, whoa, sir. She needs some help.
Yeah. So that part.
Yeah.
And and that's the difference between that culture and our culture. Like, their culture will pay attention. Oh, let's take Sally to the hospital and see what's wrong, as opposed to beating Sally to death, every time you turn around. And then our culture, on the other hand, we're not, first of all, we're not even trying to go to the hospital, because most of us don't have insurance, or we cannot afford to take our kid to the hospital. So that's a problem all in itself, Right. That's a problem all in itself. Look at there. My mom said, laugh out loud. Let's see, laugh out loud. Let's see. Agreed, everyone needs a therapist, Miss Ash. Yes, that's a normal practice. Right. That is a normal practice these days.
And for me, I think free health care should be a part of the reparations bill.
For African American people,
yes. Free health care. All the trauma we went through and still going through.
Okay, so laugh out loud. That's right. I've heard back in the day when I was growing up, but they would go beat it out of them until they get it right. Yeah. Right,
but I think that came from, and we talked about this, it came from slavery. Master beat us. You didn't have an opinion. You do what you told, or you get beat.
Yes.
And then I think that was just passed on from generation to generation, because we didn't have anybody to run to.
Right.
If we had issues, and when I'm talking about our ancestors, they didn't have anybody to run to or talk to. Hey, we're being literally beat and all these horrible things are happening to us, who do you go tell?
Right.
There was nobody for you to go tell or to vent to, because everybody's getting beat.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I feel like the man took that and started beating the woman.
Right.
The woman took that and started beating the kids. And then it just, it just went from generation to generation.
This unhealthy cycle that was not accomplishing anything.
Right. Because I don't believe, I always think this way, but I don't believe in beating your kids. I don't believe in that. Because what is it teaching them?
Right.
We want to teach them, not want them to be afraid, because if you're afraid to come to me and talk to me, then you're going to try to process, or like you said, you're going to suppress however you feel, and then you get all this anger built up.
Right.
And then that trickles into something else, and then you have this big problem.
And it contributes to you being multiple people, honey.
Yeah.
One person here, another person there. You are adapting to survive.
Right. And if y'all haven't seen...
that should not be in a home.
I agree. If y'all have not seen... we watched a documentary. I'm not going to say the name of it. We watched a documentary. A man was being abused by his father. And he started to talk to himself. He created his own world that he lived in to escape the abuse that he was getting from his father. So again...
And that's how he survived.
That's how he survived. Because if it wasn't for that, he might not have made it. He probably would have killed himself.
He would have lost it. He would have had a psychotic break.
Right. So just think about all the people who do commit or unalive themselves because they don't see a way out. They don't know how to get help. And if they do reach out, like we talked about, their parents are telling them to be quiet, or they're discounting them, or go somewhere, or they don't want to hear it.
Right.
So where do you turn? Young ladies are being raped. Not only are they being raped, but a pregnancy is a result of this rape.
Right.
And they have nobody to turn to talk to, except the pastor. And the pastor telling you, I'm going to pray for you. And it's going to be all right. But yeah, you need more than that. You need a professional, a trained professional to help you. And you might need drugs or medicine to cope.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So...
And that's one thing about the profession, right? They have they've learned and researched all these different things that they can provide to help you cope and work through things. And it's just like, being on a team. The team doesn't just get out there and play and do what they want to do. They have a coach. They have a coach, someone who helps them to be their best.
Right.
And so in life, it's the same thing. If we want to be wealthy, we need a wealthy, a wealth coach or someone that can teach us about wealth. If we want to be spiritual, we go to church, we have a pastor, we learn, we study. There is something for everything. Right. And it's really painful at this day and age when people are still defensive about something that's contributing to making them better. They would rather sit, in unhealed things or trauma or experiences as opposed to being free. Right. And for those Christian people, for us Christian people, there's liberty, the Bible says. We're supposed to be free. And that's in every sense of the word. So part of that is not holding on to, how am I trying to say the word?
Past trauma?
Trauma, and just not, choosing to do the work or get the help you need to be healed. Right.
Right. So, yeah, it's a touchy subject. Like I said, it's a serious situation. And, it's something that needs to be talked about. And there needs to be a solution to the problem of mental illness and all these people who are slipping through the cracks, to these people who are unaliving themselves, these people who are being thrown in prison with everybody else. Right. There needs to be a specific program, and there needs to be a specific law, and there needs to be specific training with police. With police officers.
Them. So who's your state rep? Who's your city officials? Right. What's their stance on mental health and protecting our community? I think that is something that we all should look into. And then, you can email, call these people and bring it to their attention how we feel about it and what we feel should happen. especially in our city.
Yeah, yeah. Because again, the situation is bad. It's really bad.
And then what do we do in our families? Like when we know that people are struggling with mental health, or, you know, and they're not getting the care they need. Like, what do we need to do now as a family member to support or contribute to helping that person? Because I feel like a lot of times we just accept it for what it is. We allow that person to
just fall to the wayside, basically.
For what it is. Like, you know, it's not me, so.
Yeah. I mean, the conversation needs to be had, like, as a group. Like, the family needs to come together, not to make this first, not to put the person, what's the word I'm looking for?
On the red carpet? That's what I like to say.
Yeah, not to, not to, you know,
put them on Front Street. Yes, yeah, right. But,
yeah,
you know, with dignity and respect.
And it could be a one-on-one conversation. Whoever this person trusts, that person can go to them and have a conversation. And of course, you can't make a grown person do anything. But if you love your family members and you care, you come to them, hey, I think, you know, based on what I've learned and what I know, you know, I looked at this, and this, and I think this might pertain to you. And I think you should pursue, you know, talking to a professional. You know what I mean? And I think that's how it needs to happen.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side of that, like, people are going to be defensive, and who do you think you are? Well, and there's nothing wrong with me. And I have encountered people who I felt like they have been undiagnosed. Like, it's just a consistent, you know, behavior, mannerisms. And I think from trauma, from, you know, not being able to process trauma, or not being, just like feeling back up against the wall. And so then this is what happens. And then, but for me, the problem with that is, like, when you don't intercede, or if you don't contribute, they spiral. They spiral out of control to the point that it's detrimental to themselves and possibly someone else. Right.
And like I was talking about the young man or the guy that I encountered, like, where was the rest of his family? Now, I don't know, you know, like I said, he was living with his grandmother. She couldn't do anything. She's barely living. You know what I mean? So I don't know if the rest of the family just washed their hands with him. I don't know. But I just know that he was, and I've seen him standing on the corner. You know, I've seen the same guy standing on the corner asking for money. So, and I'm just like, you know, and we got to do better.
You bring that up, and I think about the church. Like, I think about, you know, people in the church, and we as the church, we go to church, or we serve in the church, and we are just gone ho for supporting other people. But where should the ministry start first?
At home.
In your own house. In your own house.
Right.
And so I feel like when we go out and we work so hard to, you know, support other people, but we leave our family by the wayside, you know, it's not okay. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes I can understand that. Because sometimes in your family, you can be, what does it say? Familiarity breeds contempt.
Right.
That, you know, because I know you and because we're family, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to appreciate what you do for me. And so then I become entitled, as opposed to someone that's off the street and I'm doing something nice for, and they're very appreciative of it. So what do you think about that?
I think you're right. I agree. Like you said, it starts at home first. And we got to take care of each other at the house first. They say charity starts at home, right? Or begins at home.
Yes.
So, I wouldn't do for somebody else before I do for somebody that's in my home. Like, if my son needs a shirt, I'm not going to go give my neighbor a shirt first. So, I agree.
Okay.
I agree. We got to take care of home first. But let's read some of the different mental illnesses out there, because it's hundreds. It's hundreds.
And then what about, while you're getting that ready, what about the fact that if you address them, you come to them in love and dignity, and they reject what you have for them, what do you do after that?
Like I said, you can't make a person, especially a grown person, do anything. You love them, I'm telling you this out of love. And now, like we talked about, we watched, I think, a show the other day where they were talking about forgiveness. Once you come to somebody and tell them or apologize to them for how you offended them or how you hurt them, you're no longer held responsible, or you're no longer, responsible. Yeah. You've done your part. Now, if they choose still not to forgive you, that's on them. Right. So what I'm trying to say is, you do your part by going to your family member or your loved one and saying, hey, such and such and such. And if they choose to reject it, fine. You still love them, and you can love them from afar, but you can't make them. Right. So, but do you feel like then that's what contributes to our people being homeless and our people being undiagnosed and flooding the prisons, because they have been reached out to in love and dignity and they rejected it? Do you feel like that's a step that's been a part of their lives before it just, because I couldn't imagine driving down the street and seeing somebody in my family on the side of the street or homeless and not being like, hey, get in the car, come on, let's go. But so who are these people? Where are their families? Have they actually attempted to help them and then they rejected it? And so this is what we see, on the streets or what have you. What do you think? Yeah, I believe that, like, you can't force them. Like I said, you can't force them. So I believe there's people who reject it because a lot of people don't think they have a problem. Right. Like if you ask somebody who's a drug addict, they don't think they have a problem. Oh, I can stop any day, I can quit. Yeah. But you can't. True. You know what I mean? True. So I think it's the same with mental illness. If you are mentally ill, you may not even know it or be aware. Right. So you're going to reject help. You know what I mean? You're right. And continue to exhibit those mental behaviors, not knowing that you need help. Right. That's true. That's true. Sometimes, I guess, you have to physically force, because I've seen stories where people are physically forced to get help. Right. By their loved ones. Right. You know what I mean? And then you have those stories where people try and try and try their whole lives to help brother, sister, mother, father, uncle, and the person end up dying anyway. Right. The documentary I watched about those drug addicts, they followed their whole lives. Right. And the man was, he was constantly in and out of prison. He was constantly taking drugs, and he was having all of these issues, and he tried to go straight. But all in all, he ended up back in prison. He ended up dying. You know what I mean? And the same thing with the lady that was in there. And she was sober for a long time. But she still ended up dying from a drug overdose. Oh, wow. You know what I mean? So I'm sure it's not easy to try to convince your loved ones to get help. And I'm sure it's not easy, like you said, you're driving down the street and you see your loved one begging for change or having an episode on the street for everybody to see. Right. And nowadays, everybody's putting their camera up. Right. It's automatic. They're recording it and laughing about it and posting it. So, yeah, it's a bad situation. Right. Okay, honey. What different ones do you have? Yeah, let me, let's see. So there's clinical depression is considered a mental disorder. Anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder. They even said dementia. That was a shock to me. Dementia is a mental disorder. Right. Lucretia says people have lost compassion. Yeah. That's true. I believe that is true as well. I believe, people are just concerned about. Right. Numero uno these days. But yeah. And it's like a slippery slope, because you want to help somebody, but at the same time, this person could kill you. Yeah. And we know stories of, like, we saw the young lady pulled up on the side of the road, act like something was wrong with her car. Right. Waited for somebody to stop and help her, and she killed those people. Right. Killed a couple. Right. So, it's dangerous sometimes. Right. So, I would advise somebody, if you see somebody having an issue, to call somebody. Yes. Like, don't try to go and approach them. Yourself. Yeah, because you're not trained to. Right. And what's sad about that is that I was at Walmart a long time ago on Airport Thruway. It was raining. And the lady asked me, could I, take her from Walmart to the Bojangles right there.
everything in my heart wanted to, but I sure told her no. Because it had been.
I'm glad you did.
Right.
I mean,
it had been opportunities where people, you're giving them a ride or you're helping them, and they're killing you, shooting you and taking your car and stuff like that. So you have to be so careful these days. But yeah, I'm compassionate and yes, I care. But like sometimes you got to put yourself first, safety wise.
Right.
As opposed to, because like your example.
Yeah, just call somebody. Like, don't try to approach them.
Yeah,
call somebody. And it's sad. Most people usually call the police first, and sometimes the police just make it worse. They show up.
Yeah.
The person has a weapon. You know what I mean? The person has a weapon, and they come in aggressive. And before you know it, this person has been killed. They never got help. The whole neighborhood knew, oh, Johnny they knew he wasn't right in the head, or they knew he needed some help. But yeah, so, like I said, they need a specific unit to show up whenever somebody's having an episode who's professionally trained to deal with these people.
Right, and I think that is a great idea, because just like, police show up for crimes, for, for certain things, they shouldn't show up when it's a mental health concern.
Right, and if they do show up, they just show up to keep the public safe. Let this person have their episode or whatever until the trained people get there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So then maybe that looks like having the state hospitals have people trained. And so when they say it's a mental health situation, then they have their little emergency vehicle and they roll out and they de-escalate and they do what they need to do to help the person, as opposed to people showing up who don't have a clue and they're aggressive, and then somebody possibly ends up dying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And just to tell y'all what happened between me and the guy I told y'all I was in my apartment building, the straw that broke the camel's back was the guy, one night I went to my truck to get something out of my truck. This was late night. I go to my truck. When I get back in my apartment, the dude is in my apartment. So just imagine, like I said, he'd been threatening me for 2 or 3 months. I already had filed a police report. I had already went to the rent office. I had already talked to his grandmother. It was like, what else could I do? And this dude wouldn't go away. The police didn't do nothing about it. So, it's just situations like that. Like I said, I know this guy needs help. I'm trying to get him some help. I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to do nothing to him. I know he needs help. But the help never came.
Right.
And then I could have died that night. Right. You know what I'm saying? I could have been dead that night. And then what would the police have done? Oh, well, they would have been trying to cover their tracks. But I filled out the police report. I talked to several officers. They came out 2 and 3 times, talked to the grandmother, talked to the rent office. And this guy still ended up in my apartment. So, like I said, it's just situations like that could have turned out bad. And it did, but I lived, you know what I mean, to tell the story. But
now, so do you personally have issues or concerns with seeing a counselor or a therapist?
I don't. Now, I used to when I was younger, because like I said, if you crazy, that's the end of your world. Oh, he crazy. You know what I mean? How can you walk around? How can you walk around and people pointing the finger? You know he's crazy. You know?
Yeah. and that's specifically for being seen going into the hospital or to the therapist?
No, period.
How?
No, just across the board. Just the fact that people know
that you see a therapist.
No, not even seeing a therapist. He's crazy. You know what I mean? So let alone, I'm not even going to see a therapist. Because I got to walk around with people whispering.
Okay, so you're saying that seeing a therapist is associated with being crazy. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so
that's how I processed it growing up.
Okay, all right. So because of that, that's how you felt, and you never thought about going to counseling or anything before, as a younger person?
I thought about it. But then, if I go see a counselor, I'm crazy.
Okay.
So that's what I associated with seeing a counselor.
How many people feel that way? How many people feel that way, that if you go see a counselor, you're crazy? Right.
And as a kid, if somebody came and told me, oh, what's the saying, go and see it, he crazy. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
Right. Wow.
But I learned, I read books, I talked to people, and I learned it is healthy If you go see a counselor.
Yeah.
If you're having issues, you need to talk to somebody.
Right.
You know what I mean? A professional.
Now, I will say there are a lot of Christian people, a lot of old school Christian people who do not believe in therapy or counseling. They feel like they're not Jesus, they're not God, and they're going to lead you astray. What do you say about that?
I agree. Listen, they're going to work those demons out of you is what they're going to do. I didn't say that now. No prayer. They're going to get the prayer warriors together.
Wait. Now, I'm confused.
The prayer warriors going to come out.
Okay.
They're going to surround you, and they're going to be laboring all night until they get those demons out of you. I'm telling you. They gonna pray those demons out of you.
Okay,
that's their solution.
But is that, is that logical? Is that accurate? Like, do you believe that that's true?
I personally don't believe that's true.
Okay.
I believe there's trained mental health professionals who went to school for this, who are professional, who can help you.
Yes.
Praying is not going to fix.
It's not going to heal a chemical imbalance.
This is what I believe. I believe for those who believe in God, you go to God to change things that you cannot change. But things that you can change and control,
yes,
then you go get the help and do the work. Yes. So they say faith without works is dead. You have to do the work that you can do to change your situation. Yes. God comes in when there's nothing you can do. Right. Then God will take care of that part, I believe.
Right, I think so too.
But if you can go out and look for a job, why are you sitting on the couch? Oh, God, give me a job, please.
Yes,
put some money in my pocket.
Lap. Yes.
It don't work like that. Like you said, there's laws. Aside from the Bible, there's laws of the land. There's what did you say? Gravity.
Yeah.
What are these laws called?
I don't know them all, but that's the
one.
No,
but what do they call them though? What does Bob Parsons call them?
I don't know. I can't remember.
He says the laws of nature.
Something like that.
If y'all know what it's called, I think it's the laws of nature. But yeah, there's certain. If you put your hand in the fire, you're gonna get burnt. Yes. So don't put your hand in the fire and say, God, don't let me get burnt. Yes. You put your hand in there, you're gonna get burnt. That's a law.
Yes, and there's not anything God's gonna do about it, right? Because He's giving you a brain. To think and to use. And so if you know the law that if I do this, this is what's going to happen, to ask Him to come in and just like supersede that, why would He do that?
I don't believe in that. I personally don't believe that. Yeah. You have a responsibility as a human being to do what you can do to make your life better, to do what's right, to change your situation.
And you have a lot of tools to do it with.
Right. I agree. Yeah. So, yeah.
When I mean that's therapy too.
Right.
Right? You have therapy. And just like I say, if you need to go to for your tooth, you go to the dentist. We don't have a problem going to the dentist.
Right. You're not going to pray the pain away.
No, we're not going to be like, oh, Jesus touched this tooth, da-da-da-da. We're going to make an appointment quick and see that dentist and get the tooth taken care of.
In addition to prayer.
Yes.
Yeah, you can pray. Yeah. But you need to get you a dentist. You go to the dentist and get seen.
Right. And you mentioned about the practical things that we need to do, that we have at our access to do, right? So when you talk about that too, it's like you said, you wouldn't put your hand in the fire because you're going to be burned. Let's talk about the fact that we continue to feed ourselves things that are unhealthy and that contribute to diabetes and high blood pressure and different things. Like we just, it's like by nature we just do it. What do you think about that?
I think the same thing.
And then we say, God, heal my body.
Right. I think that applies.
Heal me.
Right.
Fix it,
that's
Jesus.
The same, right. That's the same principle.
Where was heal me and fix it, Jesus, when you had the right mind to turn or reject that apple pie or them collard greens or chitlins or whatever it is that's unhealthy for the body? And I don't even say you can't eat it. It's just portion control. Or how often you eat it, that's contributing to, problems.
Right. And I even read that eating disorder is a mental illness.
Yes.
I even read that. You know what I mean? So it's a lot. It is a lot. Whether you're bulimic or what's the other? Anorexic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and we called out a few more, like schizophrenia is another big one. Bipolar, did we say bipolar?
Bipolar, yeah.
Narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder. Yeah, the list goes on and on. It's a lot of them. There's over 200, 300 mental illnesses out there. And nobody, who's diagnosing these people?
Well, let me tell you how that works, right? So, it's the DSM. That's the book where all of the mental health disorders are listed. And so say it's bipolar, right? So under bipolar, it's going to tell you all the things, symptoms, or what to look for that say you have bipolar. Most of us have some of it, but you need 5.
Okay.
5 consistent things to say you're diagnosed and you have a disorder, right? So I just wanted to point that out. We carry different traits of different things, but it's when it starts to stack up to 5 or more that we are diagnosed. We consider having a disorder and needing medication and intervention.
Yeah, and that's I'm glad you brought that up, and that's another thing.
My mom says, "Oh my God, yes, it is, but I love to eat." Well, Mom.
So do we.
Well, yes, because see, that's not okay, Mom. That is not okay, and so it requires discipline, and it requires caring about your body. To be here long enough to be in good spirits and in good health. And not, your last days, what does it say in the Bible? Your last days shall be better than the first, or the latter should be better than the first. What does it say?
Put it in the chat if you know how it goes.
Yeah. What does it say? The latter shall be greater, or something like that. And a lot of our ladders are not greater because we have spent the earlier parts, latter greater than the former. We have spent the earlier parts not really taking care of our bodies the way that we should.
Right. And I always say, I may leave this world one way, but it won't because my health fails me. Okay. It's not because it's too many things I love to do. We like to get out. We like to be active. Yep. I love to play basketball. I like to lift weights.
Right.
We like to go bowling, skating.
Right. Skating.
We like to enjoy life.
Right.
Run around with the kids, How can we do those things if we, dragging an oxygen tank or we stomach is out to here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And it requires that we are mentally and physically tough. And then, so when do we just give up on ourselves? When do we just give up on ourselves and allow something else to win over our own personal mental health or mental strength to take care of ourselves properly? Like, when do we just settle and just give up?
Yeah, it's about balance. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's not easy. Everybody has their own cross to bear or struggle with something, whether it be food, whether it be shopping, whether, it's something. So everybody has a vice.
Right. And so, again, thank you for bringing that up, because a lot of times when we don't deal with our mental health, the first thing happens for depression, for suppressing situations, eat. So some people are going to eat, emotional eaters, and some people are not going to eat. But for our culture, I think we tend to lean towards the eating.
Yeah, and like I said, it's about balance, because everybody's stronger in one area than somebody else. You know what I mean? So it's about balance, and like we said, doing the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
have
discipline.
To be intentional.
And
right.
And some people are where they are because they're more disciplined in this area than somebody else. So just when it comes to eating, you gotta start somewhere, and you gotta tell yourself no constantly.
Yeah.
And just do it in moderation, and we still enjoy the stuff we like.
Right.
Sweets.
Right.
Shout out to the Girl Scouts. I just got some of those Thin Mints today, so I'm looking forward to them. But you got to enjoy life, but you have to have balance and do everything in moderation.
Right. Right. And so I think proportions for the African American folk is extra large. Extra large.
Yeah.
like, you know, I remember the first time I went to Cracker Barrel, long time ago. That's not the type of restaurants I grew up going to. We went to the buffets.
Right.
You know, so you can stack it and go up there multiple times, right? But I remember going to Cracker Barrel, and Cracker Barrel, you know, they give you like a little bowl of grits and a little bowl of this and a little bowl of that, and it's like, what is this, right?
Right.
But it's healthy.
It's in moderation.
Right, it's in moderation. It's not just overeating and eating too much. And then a lot of times, yes, Lucretia, yes. We were told to clean our plates.
Right.
Yes.
To leave this table.
Yes. Oh, and the plates in my house was huge. Huge. And some of them plates had a little dip in the middle. So you have the dip in the middle and like a bowl part, and then they go out wide like this. So it's just like full of grits down there. Yeah. Big old link sausage, eggs, and toast. Right? It's a wonder. It's a wonder. Because we love to eat. And I love bread. We love bread in my family too. But we could not leave the table until all the food was done. You could not be drinking your drink or whatever until the food was done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then that contributes.
Listen, we're laughing, but it's serious though.
It contributes, yeah.
Right, because these health issues, like, people often talk about, you know, they pray to God about everything except,
that
Lord,
part.
stop me from eating.
That part. That part.
Keep me away from the table, Lord.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes. Don't pray about that. I don't think nobody prays about that.
What's it called? What's that called in the Bible?
Gluttony. Gluttony, honey.
Yeah, nobody talk about gluttony. How many times the pastor preached on gluttony in the church?
Right. We'll highlight every other sin, but that is not touched at all that I believe in the church.
And then end church and go to the buffet, you know? Well, yeah, so.
Right, and so I love Golden Corral. Don't get me wrong. I love Golden Corral. I love to go to get the bread, and I get the same thing all the time. But I eat in moderation. You know, it's not multiple trips up there, and then it's not my plate just being like stacked this high. It's in moderation. I eat what I like, what I love, in moderation, and I'm done.
Listen, cancer is real.
Yes.
All these people passing away from cancer. It's one thing if you get it, but you didn't contribute to it. But it's another thing if you're contributing to it. It's no surprise if you end up with cancer. You know what I mean? So
Right. So
yeah.
And same with diabetes, right? Yeah. There are small people who have diabetes. And it's not so much about them being heavy set or obese, as the doctor will say.
Right.
Because the doctor has called me obese before. I remember.
You tell me what doctor that is.
They have called me obese before. I remember when I was pregnant with Ashlyn, and she was like, "Oh, you're eating too much." She told me I had to cut my my prenatal vitamin in half, and I needed to cut back.
But they're supposed to tell you that when you're pregnant.
I don't know if they have to tell everybody.
Well, they're not supposed to tell you.
Prenatal in half. You need your prenatal vitamin.
Right.
And so
because they know that it's because you're going to gain weight naturally, but there's extra weight you're going to gain if you have all these cravings for McDonald's.
Yeah.
All these cravings for donuts.
And she's like, you're not eating for two. You're only still just eating for one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Okay.
But I said that to say that, you know, it doesn't matter what size you are as it regards diabetes. It's the sugar. It's the sugar intake that is tearing up your organs on the inside.
Right. And how many of y'all know that sugar or that what's the disease? Not dementia. What's the other one? What's the other one? Not dementia, but there's another memory loss.
Oh, amnesia, honey?
Not amnesia. What is it called? Y'all put it in the chat. Alzheimer's is directly linked to sugar. Yeah.
Okay, Miss Gloria, she gonna get me. My other mom said, when we learn better, we do better. But you were told to clean your plates because we didn't want to waste food. Tracking.
Right. Now, listen, I never had a problem, Mom. Well, I never had a problem cleaning my plate. Never had a problem. You know what I mean?
But again, guys don't tend to gain weight or hold weight like ladies do most times.
And that is because of testosterone.
Okay.
Women don't have as, if any testosterone, y'all don't have that much testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
So men, testosterone helps you, your metabolism, and it helps you burn fat.
Right.
So that's why they encourage protein powder and protein shakes and all these different supplements because it helps you burn fat.
Right.
So women, y'all have to work harder.
Increase the protein.
Because your body is designed to store fat.
Yeah.
So that's why though.
Right. And then so I feel like, so with this not wasting food part, right, that is passed down. I am a stickler for wasting food. Mm-hmm. So now what I have done, right, is I portion the food out so that, because I don't like leftovers. Not that I don't like leftovers. I'm trying to say I don't like to have to throw away leftovers because it hasn't been eaten. So portioning out the food so there is enough just for that meal so that you don't have leftovers and so that you don't have to throw food away. But did y'all eat leftovers growing up?
We live by them.
Yeah, some people don't eat.
Leftovers was better the next day.
Yeah, some people don't eat leftovers. Some people do not. Yeah, we ate leftovers. We ate good. Really good. Yeah. Yeah. But sometimes, eat all the food off your plate, but it was too much food on the plate.
Not in our house. I don't remember.
Yes, my mom was heavy-handed, so yeah, you got a lot of food on the plate.
But my mom, after a certain age, Mom, if you remember this, you didn't fix our plate. Like we fixed our own plate, so. But then you were responsible if you didn't eat it.
Right.
Like, you got all that on your plate, you better eat it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's just the little things like that contribute to who we are and then how we show up in the world, you know? Like, so is it a stickler for you to waste food? I don't think it is.
Oh, whoa. Y'all heard that?
Let's see. Carbs are the largest contributor to diabetes. It turns into sugar. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Who said that?
Your mom. I mean, yes.
Okay.
Mom.
Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, just so the discussion is supposed to be on mental health.
Yeah.
But yeah, just so try to stay active. It's not necessarily.
You skipped the question. Do you have a problem about leftovers?
What do you mean leftovers?
Do you eat leftovers, or do you have a problem throwing away food?
What do you mean? Do I have a problem throwing?
Yeah, is it a concern? Like, does it bother you at all? Does it matter?
Yeah, well, I don't like to waste.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it bothers me. Because we already know the poverty problem. So, you know, people, when we throw food away, it's people wishing they had that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but we live in a country where we live in a wasteful country.
You're right. You're right.
You know what I mean? I remember working at restaurants, and at the end of the night, they was throwing all of this food away, and I couldn't believe it.
Right, and they will not give it to the homeless people.
Oh, they throwing all of this food away.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
And I remember I didn't have to buy groceries. I was taking bags. I'm telling you, I'm taking bags and bags of food home. I didn't have to buy groceries. I'm telling you, at one point, y'all throwing what away? Let me go. Let me show you what my parents showed me. Go in here and I'm fixing plate after plate, put it in the bag. Yeah, I'm not throwing nothing away.
Okay.
I'm gonna save money on groceries. Those were the good old days.
Yeah, so I agree. You know, we don't like to waste food or be wasteful. And so it's important, though. We still, you know, we got to eat in moderation.
Yeah. Yeah, just some people are just more disciplined in areas than others. You know what I mean? So everybody has something they're struggling with. But yeah, like we talked about, I could not see not being able to do the things we love to do because of my health.
Right.
Like I would be devastated if I was confined to a wheelchair, or if I had to carry oxygen around with me, or if I had to prick my finger or whatever. I would be devastated. You know, if I couldn't do the things I love to do.
Right.
So that's why that's what helps me stay disciplined when it comes to eating in moderation, because I want to still be able, 20 years from now, I want to still be able to take a flight and go here and you know, run around with the grandkids and do this and do that.
Right.
And not be out of breath or not have to worry about my health.
And it's never too late. That's one thing about our bodies. in the way that they're designed.
I have to disagree with you
I
there.
don't think it's too late. I don't think it's too late to exercise and to do things in moderation. It takes 21 days to form a habit, 90 days to make it a lifestyle.
Well, the reason I say that is too late because once the damage is done, you can't undo it. Now, you can try to live with that, whatever you have, whether it be diabetes or these health problems, you can live with that. Yeah, but you can't undo it. So it's easier to put out a spark than put out a blaze.
Okay.
So it's better just to, at a young age, just maintain that as you get older.
Right.
Continue to work out, continue to be, what's the word?
Active?
Continue to be active.
Yeah, but so in that, what I was trying to say is that, you don't have to continue to contribute. So just because you have certain things going on, that doesn't mean that you can still live healthy and do the things you need to do. It may not be able to erase it, but you don't contribute to it to make it worse.
Right. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So.
We have taken a deep dive tonight.
Right. A deep dive into mental health. And on Wednesdays, we do
community calendar. We do
city news, politics, education, and review on events that we've attended. And on Sunday nights, we hit a deep dive on specific topics. And tonight it was mental health and how it affects or contributes to our community. The stigma that comes along with it.
Right. Right. And different solutions and things that can be done to deal with this mental illness crisis. I believe it's a crisis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are not getting the help that they need.
Right.
So
professional help that they need. They're not getting it.
Yeah. So it's definitely a conversation.
What are some key things that we want to leave for recommendations, strategies to contribute to our families so that we can be healthier and just, move forward in a right direction? Because the thing is that, the Bible says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God. And so we are the apple of his eye. We are masterpieces. We are peculiar people. Are we really operating in that power and that strength when we just give up or settle for, I love to eat? No offense, Mom, but I love to eat. Okay? But, that's just the example that came to mind.
Yeah. So we just, like I said, some people are just more disciplined in areas than others. So, so we have to hold each other responsible. And then when we're held responsible, we can't get up in arms because a lot of times, somebody come to you.
Get upset, right?
Like come to you. Yeah, you're on the defense, like, hey, who you talking to? Or, you know what I mean?
Right,
so, but what I think needs to happen is, as a family, maybe once a week or whatever, you come up with, but I think once a week, families need to come together and talk about health and talk about exercising and talk about mental health and just, because, we do a
family meeting.
Right, and we check in, see the temperature, hey, what's going on with you? What's going on with you? I had this going on this week, or I don't feel like this. So I think that needs to happen, not only in our household, but collectively, in-laws,
the family as a whole.
The family as a whole, because again, it takes a village. So if it takes a village, maybe once a week, maybe it's over Sunday dinner. We get together. Yeah. Hey, let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about how you feeling, or places you can go if you're feeling this type of way. Right. Because talking to mama ain't gonna help you. Because mama is not a professional, you know what I mean? She's not trained professionally to deal with whatever happened to you as a kid, whatever happened to you last night.
And a lot of times, from experience and just different stories, some parents haven't even processed the trauma they experienced. And so they definitely can't help, their children sometimes. Right. And that's real. Like, that is real. There are parents today that they have not processed their trauma. The children, as a result, are working through that. But this is what happens for me. They turn back and they feel sorry for mom. Well, this happened to mom when she was this age but that's not the kid's responsibility.
Right.
It's not their responsibility to, try to rectify what happened to mom when she was 18. It says when we stand before at the end of the day, are going to be accountable only for ourselves. And again, healing, only we can do it through God and through professional help. Anything that has to be done that regards us personally, we have to be the person to do it.
I 100% agree with that, and that's across the board.
Yes.
Whether it's overeating,
yes.
Whether it's mental illness,
you gotta have a made-up mind.
Right. Whether it's finances that you can't get under control, but across the board. Because, like I said, some areas.
How about once a month? I like once a month.
Yeah, that works. But the conversation needs to be had.
Yeah.
To just check on your loved ones and make sure everybody's doing okay.
And you have stubborn people that don't want to listen.
Well, that's.
I'm just saying because let's talk about it because we're talking about candid conversation. You have stubborn people that don't want to listen, but how do we need to respond to that? Because sometimes people's cutoff game is strong. They'll fall all the way back and they don't want to communicate or talk to the person because they can't fix what is going on. So that's not healthy either.
Well, I disagree. And I'll tell you why. Because the first law of nature is self-preservation. So you cannot be more concerned about someone else than you are for yourself. So if someone doesn't want to get help, they don't want to change, you can love them from afar.
Okay.
Because you have to worry about you first. Okay. Self-love is where it starts. Just like we said, charity begins at home. So you have to love yourself enough to be like, you know what, I need to step back from this.
But that's contradictory to saying meet once a week or once a month.
No.
Have a family check-in.
No, because you can still check on your family. But if the environment is toxic, you don't go. Yeah, you can still check on the family through somebody else. How's every so-and-so doing? Okay, doing all right? Okay, good. But if the environment is toxic, for me, you don't show up. Because, again, you have to think about your own mental health.
Okay.
Because if these things, when you go in certain environments or you're around certain people, it affects your energy, it affects your day, it affects your mood, and it's starting to cause trauma, you cannot be in that environment.
Okay. So, but I'm saying the recommendation that was given was meet once a week, check in, and, have a conversation. So we can do that. But then when it gets challenging and when it gets tough, so this is how things fall through the cracks because, I feel this way or I feel this way, so I'm going to fall all the way back. And then this is how the family as a unit falls through the cracks. Because, again, we have to agree to disagree about things. Right. Then we also need to know how to be able to still show up when the circumstances or the outcome is not what we need it to be or would like it to be.
Right. That's all well and good. But again, you have to think about how you're being affected. Family reunions are great, but when the family reunion happens and there's drama,
right? Okay,
you're not a bad person, or you're not wrong because you don't want to show up because there's drama at your family reunion and stuff is happening. Right. You're not wrong for that. Right. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. You can still check in with your loved ones, maybe through somebody else, but as long as the environment is conducive to healing, it's a peaceful environment, it's good energy. Yes, families are going to disagree. That's never going to change. Okay. But there's a healthy disagreement and there's an unhealthy disagreement. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So, I'm all for showing up. But if you show up and it's drama, okay, we can deal with it. But then it continues to be drama. Okay, I'm going to be over here. And I wish y'all the best because, again, I'm concerned about my own mental health. Right. Because somebody else may not be. Right. So you have to be concerned about your own mental health, your own stability first. Right. Because you can't pour from an empty cup.
That's right.
So,
okay.
So that's my opinion.
Just wanted to get some clarity on that.
Yeah.
So you still meet And if it's just not received or it's not conducive, then
you fall back. I mean, but yeah, you still try to make an effort. Like, you try to make an effort, but at the same time, you don't try to make so much of an effort where it's starting to cause you pain and trauma and stress.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Okay.
you don't do that.
Okay. Hey, Emily.
Yes, Sam.
Yeah. Okay. So what we were doing was kind of going over recommendations and strategies to like demystify the stigma that comes along with mental health and getting help, because there's nothing wrong with it. Of course, like anything, you're going to choose the right dentist, you're going to choose the right doctor, you have to choose the best therapist for you that you feel that you're going to resonate with, and that's truly going to help you. So if you want a spiritual, like somebody that has a spiritual background, like that's possible today. There's a lot of people that's in the church, and they also practice therapy. Because I know sometimes that's a concern that, church people, they don't want to get a worldly person that's going to like send you all down all kinds of paths. So there are Christian people out here, Christian organizations that have therapists, but it's important to have someone to talk to. And what I like about it is that it's confidential, you, that person, and God. You can be honest, you can be whoever you need to be, and just let some stuff go.
Right.
And sometimes they help pull things out of you that you don't realize that you're carrying.
I agree.
And when we have stress in our bodies, it causes disease.
That's what I'm saying.
When we it causes disease and suppression of things that we are not, working through and working out, causes disease in our body. And that it, sends us to an early grave. So, therapy is important.
Right.
As a family, as people, we need to have a positive outlook and encourage it, support it, and actually for ourselves show up for, counseling and get the help that we need.
I agree.
What else?
I agree.
What else?
We need to, like we talked about, do the work. If you know that you're having issues and you're trying to figure out, well, why can't I stay in a relationship? Or why can't I be around other people? Or why every time I do this, I feel like this? You know what I mean? You have to do the work, seek somebody out, and call and try to find, how to find out how you can get this help. So,
and if you're having repeat experiences, same script in different casts, you're the common denominator.
That's what they say.
In those situations. And so to me, that means, okay, I need to check me out and see why is it that I'm putting myself in these situations or attracting these kind of people or, these types of relationships, because it's really not about the other person. It's about what you allow and you tolerate based on your self-esteem and your self-worth and your mindset. So oftentimes when we see repeated situations, same script, but different cast, we need to, start doing some work there.
Right.
Okay.
So we appreciate all the beautiful people in the building. Give yourselves a hand.
Okay.
Give yourselves a hand. We appreciate y'all for tapping in with us.
Yes. And these are tough. This is candid conversation. So it's tough conversation, tough things that need to be discussed and talked about. And the thing is that that's how we grow, is if we're willing to be open to, changing some things and fixing some things and not doing things the same and expecting different results,
Right. And change comes from pain sometimes. When we're working out, working that muscle out, it's going to hurt. But it's, what we say, short-term pain or temporary pain for long-term gain.
Yes. Yeah.
So, that's always good. And then we talk about, we talked about doing the work, seeking out a mental health professional or trying to find out what avenues you can take to get some help and being honest with yourself.
Right.
That you need help.
Right.
You know what I mean? And yeah, I think that's the biggest step, being honest with yourself. Like, I need some help. You know
right. And if we do this within the family units, like maybe it, curtails some of the homelessness and some of the mental health people we see that are out on the streets, just lifing it alone. Maybe it does and maybe it doesn't. Mm-hmm. But it not only for adults, for children too. Like it's okay for children to see a therapist at a young age to process different things or traumas that
right.
they have experienced, so that they don't go into adulthood unhealthy. It's important.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah. So again, we appreciate y'all tapping in. We appreciate y'all, being a part of the Candid Conversation family. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and having this conversation. And don't let it stop here, like we always talk about.
Yes.
And do some research. Y'all go out there and do your own research when it comes to mental health. Mm-hmm. And because stuff changes every day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So what worked yesterday might not work today. Mm-hmm. So, continue to have the conversation, and we're going to get together and figure out how we can come together collectively as a family.
Yes.
And put our arms around each other.
Right. You got to be willing. You have to have an open mind.
Right.
And lead from the front. That's one thing that's a big deal for me. Like, being a veteran, mm-hmm. that's lead from the front is something that we grew up with in the Army. Mm-hmm. So that means in our family, in our culture, do as I say and not as I do. That is not okay.
Right.
Children, people pay more attention to what we do than what we say. So we can talk all day long, but they're going to pay more attention to what you do than what you say, and they're going to model that. So what are we modeling for our children? What are we modeling for our community? Are we holding people to higher expectations in certain areas while we let certain areas slide through the cracks? And that's not fair. Accountability has to be across the board.
Right.
In every aspect.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. Anything worth having will take time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think we tackled it.
Okay.
We could talk about this all night because it's such a huge issue. Mm-hmm. We could talk about it all night, and we will after after the show. We probably still might talk a little more about it, but
right.
But yeah, like I said, continue to have the conversation.
Yes, please have the conversations. And we love you very much.
We do.
We love you. And I often feel like people who truly love you and care about you are going to be honest at the expense of you being upset, at the expense of you maybe not wanting to talk to me anymore or kicking me to the curb.
Right.
I do believe that people who truly care about you, they're in love, going to be honest with you.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because it would be a tragedy for something to happen to somebody and you could have done something or said something to prevent it.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. And it's just like the story in the Bible about love. Mm-hmm. The parts, mm-hmm. the hand, the foot, the whatever. They mm-hmm. all play a part. They're all important.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. So again, we thank y'all. It's been real. Everybody, we hope y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night. Again, we appreciate y'all tapping in. And please, look, we need, well, we're not ready for that yet, but we're transitioning to YouTube so we can start going live on YouTube. But we'll keep y'all informed so y'all will know how to go subscribe to our new page because we're going to transition from Facebook Live to YouTube Live.
Hopefully, yes.
But we need 50 subscribers minimum.
Yes.
To go live on YouTube. So everybody, we need y'all. We appreciate y'all. We'll keep y'all informed on when we need y'all to go subscribe. But we're setting the page up currently.
Okay, and my action step for everybody that's live tonight, I want you to either direct message us privately or you can put it in the comments. One thing that you're going to choose to work on as it regards what we talked about tonight. Because it's not enough for us just to talk about stuff, because you can talk about it and then go on about your day, and it just had been a conversation. We really want to bring about change. We want to be a better family unit. We want to be a better culture. That's like the whole purpose of us sitting on here and having these candid conversations. So direct message, or you feel comfortable, go ahead and put it in the comments. One thing, something that you can contribute and work on as it regards what we talked about tonight. I would appreciate that. Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad you put that in there.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Another episode. Good night. Candid conversation.
Love you, love you, love you.
Not popular.
Yes, but important. Very important. Yes.
So peace and love.
Okay.
We'll see y'all next episode.
Bye-bye. Love y'all.
Good night.
Okay. Bye, honey.